What's up, everybody? This is Derek Collado from Sit Stay Sober, and in this video we're going to talk about relapse, or going through a relapse. So, just going to kind of speak from my own personal experience and stuff that I've seen work for other people and stuff that really resonated with me over the course of time trying to stay sober and get clean. So, first things first is the all or nothing mentality. We gotta really focus that we don't get stuck in that mental frame where it's like, I'm either gonna be a drug addict, or I guess I'm a drug addict, or I guess I'm an alcoholic, or I'm like this super sober, like got my shit together, and if I can't do one, then I'm gonna be the other, right? So again, it's just this all or nothing mind frame. And just again, from my own experience, I was really a victim to this. Like, I really thought, like, every time I relapsed, I just threw in the towel completely and just was like, alright, whatever. I'm just gonna be an addict, or an alcoholic. But the reality is getting sober and getting off drugs or alcohol isn't it's not easy, but B, it's not one path for everybody. And I'm sure if you talk to enough people who are in recovery or people who have gotten off of it, they'll tell you that most likely they've relapsed, or as they were trying to get clean, that they've relapsed. And I don't mean that like literally everyone who gets sober relapses, but for me, like with booze, was one of those ones where I tried to quit booze 50 times, and I would always just fall back into it. So it would just be like 2-3 weeks of not drinking, and then all of a sudden I'd be finding some excuse, or just caving into cravings, and then I'd go out and I'd drink, and then the next day after drinking, that all or nothing mentality kicks in, and boom, I guess I'm just an alcoholic. This is just the way my life's gonna be, and in reality, that's not how it has to be, right? So, first things first is if you are in the middle of a relapse, is don't put yourself in that all or nothing mentality, because there's a lot of, you got all and then here's nothing. There's a lot of distance and space in between. So the next thing I would do is be honest, right? Like be honest with yourself. Like, hey, you are doing the thing that you set out not to do, or you know to avoid, and you're doing it again, right? A lot of times you're drinking, or you haven't done it in a while, right? Whether it be drinking or drugs, and you're like, I haven't done it in a while. That shows I have this under control, and I haven't drank in 3 months. I haven't snorted anything in 3 months, 6 months. I can handle doing a line. I can handle doing a bump. I can handle having a shot. But you're doing these things with false confidence, right? So like, this is what I'm saying, like with be honest with yourself, is like you set out not to not do these things, and now you're doing them. So you thinking that like you have it under control, it's no big deal, like I got this. It's like, you do got this, but don't kid yourself. Like, don't play with fire, you know? It's like, you've already been burned before. Like, do you need more proof that you can get burned? So yeah, so I would just add that to, like, you know, you've relapsed. Be honest with yourself, and then be honest with the people around you. Sometimes it can just bring back that shame of like, shit, I failed again, and then everyone around me has been so proud of me and so helpful and supportive that now I have to like admit that like I stumbled, right? And I've had to do this before, and then where you just have to admit like, I messed up, you know what I mean? Like I failed, and this is again, it happened with drinking, and it's happened with pills, where it's like, because I was honest though, it was just like another set of hands on deck that can kind of just check in on you, make sure that you're not sitting in your own head, and kind of just help you get the momentum you need to move forward. The other thing that I would also just kind of like assess is, think about why you did relapse, right? Like, try to identify the triggering situation or set of events that led you to wanting to drink. So I've, in my time of relapsing before, it was several reasons. There's been, especially with drinking, it was like, I'm angry, I'm sad, oh, I want to have fun, false confidence, like thinking I can handle it, and then falling to those impulses and drinking. But I had to like be honest with myself and start to identify, like, why is this happening? Like, why do I fail at these certain situations? And over time, I realized, like, I have a really bad coping strategy. My coping mechanism was alcohol and drugs, right? It was something external, and I had to like come to terms with that and be like, all right, we need to change course here. Like, I've programmed my brain that when I get to this emotional state, I run to substances, right? So I need to start training my brain to go in other directions. And once you start to identify those things, you can learn to like manage yourself and the situations you put yourself in, and start to get yourself that momentum of going back on the right track, right? So if one of your reasons for failing so much is because you like to have fun and you're around people who love to drink, and you're not able to string a lot of these sober days together, you gotta cut those people out. And especially in the beginning, it's like, they are tempting you and they're not respecting you. You just gotta avoid yourself from doing that. For me, with like just being like too emotional about certain things, like it was like my dog died and my grandmother died within like a very short period of time, and it was just, to me, I just was a heartbroken boy, you know, and I wanted to drink so bad, like just to kind of numb what I was going through, and kind of just like take all this pain, put it over here, and then just drink so I can forget about it. But that's not healthy, and that's not, dogs can't talk, but that's not what my grandmother or my dog would want for me, to just completely fall apart and, you know, be a mess. So to me, I had to really focus, and during that time, not add more like they call it like trigger stacking with dogs, where I was already here and my threshold for drinking is here. So like, I really got to be mindful of not making myself more stressed, more searching for a reason to drink. So now over time, I've learned that like talking about it, not like necessarily being hermited and self-isolating, sometimes it's just good to just vent, talk about it. For me, I have a couple hobbies that I'm able to just really dive myself into, and I'm sober-minded while I'm doing these hobbies, so it gives you time to think and process your emotions and what you're going through. So again, it's just me identifying those triggers. It really just came down to, overall theme was just I have bad coping, you know, and hopefully with you is you can identify some of these situations or triggers that set off your relapse, right? Um, so again, you relapse. What I would say is like, A, don't get stuck in that all or nothing uh, mind frame. 2, be honest with yourself and be honest with the people around you that, hey, you stumbled. It is what it is. It is what it is, you know. And uh, as long as they see you trying and to get back on your feet, most people give you a pat on the back, dude. And they'll just be like, yeah, whatever, dude, it happens, freaking. But you're back, getting clean. Like, let's go. Uh, and then 3 would just be identifying maybe why you relapsed, right? So sometimes people are just like, I just fucking did it. But then if you give yourself some time to think, like, what was leading up into me doing it? And like I said, sometimes it might not just be one specific thing. It might be a couple of things that have got you to a state where you're willing to relapse. And then if you're honest with yourself, you start to identify those things, you can catch yourself the next time that that relapse path presents itself. So hopefully you can use some of this for when you relapse and get back on track. If you have any tips that you want to add to the comments, please do it. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.